Good evening, students. This is Professor Estrada with your American Literature Section 2 class online, and this is your Week 6 video lecture for the week. As I've said before, in many videos I try to record early, so this is me recording on Thursday, April 23rd, which in fact the Week 6 class won't open up until April 27th, so I am a few days early. So let's get started within our week six video audio lecture. As always, left side tab will always tell you ongoing announcements such as recaps, due dates, incoming work. I have yet to write the week 5 late work reminder, so I'm about to write that suddenly. And then we have my contact information. As always, reach out to me if you have any questions right here. And I think fairly as we have moved along within the course, we do understand the difference between the work to do module and the calendar, which may say a certain due date. It does add the extra 4 days if you can turn in something late, but we're always being mindful that the syllabus will always tell you when something is due. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the content folder. And just like I normally record this a little bit earlier than most, the emojis that you see usually aren't even visible by the time you see this, but I'm going to show you what I see. So by the time you see this, this will be open, and I'm about to open this here in a minute. But we're going to dive into the week 6 folder, part 1 and part 2. That way you have it all at a glance. And so this video might be a little lengthier than most because it does contain the research portion of the essay that you will be doing and all of the contents therein. So we have the week 6 lecture slides. We have the video lecture, which you are looking at right now. A few content and work within the folder. We have Having a Coke with You, a poem, text and audio. Home After 3 Months Away by Robert Lowell, text and audio. And Girl of Lightning by Hyde Edric. And then the discussion board number 7, temp and line. And then there's a word count link. We also have in here the analytical essay and annotated bibliography instructions. I also included below it a helpful guide as to navigating the databases if you are not familiar with that, as well as the resources for MLA citation. We also have within there the JSTOR database link, which we understand that a JSTOR is just an online collection, which a database is just an online collection of thousands upon thousands and hundreds of resources such as articles, newspapers, links, audio, recordings from a specific category. And so JSTOR is its own separate database, and I'll show you that in a minute. I also included the Purdue OWL formatting link. This is an excellent resource on how to format things using a website that shows you not only why we cite things in a certain way, but how they look like on a sample outline. I also included the Hill College Go-To database link, which has and contains hundreds of databases so that you can get started in the sources for your essay. And the due date for only discussion board 7 follows a week 6 due date. The research paper has a different due date, and I wrote it right here. The essay, however, is due no later than Monday, May 11th at 11:59. It just says right here that this is an essay that will need to be submitted as an electronic copy in the week 8 folder. So you're given more than plenty of time and adequate time to complete it. You'll be uploading the essay in Brightspace. I will not accept email attachments or web links in lieu of the essay. An electronic copy in Brightspace will need to be submitted for me in order to receive a grade. Unfortunately, for this essay, you cannot use a late pass. Okay? Failure to not turn in on this day and time will result in an automatic 30 points off. Failure to not turn in by Tuesday, May 12th at 4 p.m. will result in a 0. I will not accept submissions past Tuesday, May 12th at 4 p.m. as my gradebook will close in order to grade research papers and finalize calculations. Do not wait until that time to submit work. Your final essay will be turned in using the following order. Your final essay, the research paper itself, which contains the essay, the works cited page, and the annotated bibliography. This essay will consist and require a works cited page. Failure to not submit a works cited page for this essay will deem the essay unacceptable, and a grade of 0 will be given. its submission module will be found in the week 8 folder. So what you have and what you see right here is just the instructions and the resources in the week 6 part 1 folder. Okay, so let's dive in. So we have first the week 6 day 1 lecture slides. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so that way you can see them. Okay, it's a little bit better. We have the objectives for week 6 day 1, a recap of week 5 day 2, an important reminder for you, the online folder content which I just showed you, a continuation lecture of the contemporary period, and an introduction of the analytical essay and its annotated bibliography. So this was a recap of week 5 day 2. You looked at Why I Live at the PO as a text and listened to it, as well as Cathedral by Raymond Carver. And you completed discussion board number 6, A Writer's Edge, and its due date was Sunday, April 26th at 11:59 p.m. Okay. Then we have an important reminder for late work and late pass. A reminder for late work: an online assignment can still be accepted without a late pass. However, assignments can still be submitted with a deduction of 25 points per each day late. Failure to not submit the assignment after 4 days will result in a 0. However, I still take late work beyond a Sunday due date, but with a grade point deduction. And then just to remind you, as a late pass policy, just simply email me your course, what assignment and what late pass it's for. I write it in my notes, and do this before 10 o'clock so that you can be guaranteed a response back. Okay, this is in the folder for today, just as I have said it. I don't think I even completed this one, but this poem should be in there as well, Having a Coke with You, so I'm pretty sure I have that in there as well. But this is the online folder, the lecture slides, the video lecture, Having a Coke with You, Home After 3 Months Away, Girl of Lightning, the discussion board that follows, and the word count link. And it follows a Sunday due date, a week 6, Sunday, May 3rd due date. This is also in the folder, so this is what you're seeing for next week. It just shows you the continuation of the instructions of the essay and all the resources that pertain to it. Okay, let's look at our continuation lecture of the contemporary period. Let us now finish off the contemporary period with some lasting notes in poetry. As we see the finish line in this period, we ought to understand that as each movement wave came with different ideas and approaches, we look at shifts in culture, characteristics, and thoughts. So are the changes in literary forms and writing. Okay, we're going to look at key characteristics in contemporary literature. So typical characteristics of the contemporary period included reality-based stories with strong characters and a believable story. Settings usually keep the current or modern era, so futuristic and science fiction novels were also included in the category as well. Well-defined, realistic, and highly developed characters were important as they show evidence of growth from period to another. Contemporary literature also featured modern narratives, but also contained a harsher reality. Contemporary written works tend to be influenced by the prosperous lifestyle that followed World War II, but also rooted in the devastation that war brought to the world. A new reality blossomed in the post-war mind, and it included a personal cynicism, negativity, and disillusionment and frustration. Okay. We also have the continuation right here. It says, looking back, some have seen the post-World War II years as the heroic age in which American poetry broke free from the constraints such as rhyme and meter and began to explore new dimensions alongside the abstract American painting. Other experimental authors recall the era's blindness to issues of race and gender. These writers experienced diversity as a blessing and looked forward to freedoms yet unimagined. Their expression in those poetries are as follows. Okay, we're looking at those expressions of the poetry of self. The poetry of self tends towards direct address or monologue. At its most intense, it states a condition of the soul. This poetry may be psychological or spiritual, aspiring in a timeless realm. Within it, some may find romantic, expressive poetry, but also language-based poems that question the very concepts of the identity and meaning. Much experimental poetry of self is non-linear, non-narrative, and non-objective. Oftentimes, the poetry of self often involves a public performance. Then we have the poetry of voice. Poetry of self obliterates or diminishes the self by taking away sensibility. This stage of poetry gives way to using or breaking the traditional idea of self by using fragments and characters. The poetry of place. Poetry of place is not based on landscape description, rather the land and its history. It can be considered a force implicated in the way of its people, including the poet, on how he lives and think. The poetry of family. An even more grounded line poetry is a subject of belonging to family, community, and changing traditions. Often the traditions were ethnic or international. A few poets during this time didn't expose their unhealed wounds, resorting to the confessional mode, but most contemporary poets wrote in affection that is genuine. Some poets use the concept of relationships as means of knowing and connecting. In poetry, respect for family and community carries with it a sense of affirmation. This type of poetry often confronts change, loss, struggle with the powers of ethnic or non-Western literary tradition. We have the poetry of the beautiful. This type of poetry celebrates beauty despite or in the midst of modern life and all its suffering and confusion. Some contemporary poetry uses imagery not as decoration but to explore new subjects and terrain. We have poetry of the spirit. A spiritual focus is found in this category of contemporary American poetry. In this type of poetry, the deepest relationship is that between the individual and a timeless essence beyond, through linked with artistic beauty. We have poetry of nature. Poets who write in this line of poetry make a point of celebrating flora and fauna as a way to express both American identity and awareness of being. Today, environmental concerns inform a powerful strain of ecologically oriented U.S. poetry. We have poetry of the wit. The word wit includes humor, a sense of worldly poetry. Poetry of wit locates the poetic occasion in everyday life raised to a humorous or surrealistic line. The everyday language, humor, surprising action, and exaggeration of this poetry makes it unusually accessible. We have the poetry of history. Poetry inspired by history is some ways the most difficult of all. In this, poets are not afraid to write with the lowercase I, as it means to break away from societal traditions. This line of work, poets interconnect reality and current events as a way to expose the crudeness of reality or attempt to show how they are not limited to fashioned poetry. Then we have poetry of the world. Sorry, I was getting ahead of myself. This type of poetry cuts through the multiple perspectives, questions the everyday notion of personal identity, and understands the suffering from an ethical perspective. We have cyber poetry. Even so, cyber poetry is a new worldly poetry. Experimental poetry has shifted its focus to a paperless, virtual, global realm. Recurring themes in cyber poetry include self-reflexive critiques of computer icons, graphics, and hypertext links. Cyber poetry also includes visual aids as a means to justify words that are hidden, intentional, or non-existent for the sake of the poem. I'm so sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied. Okay, so we're looking at specific characteristics and elements of poetry, and that is part of my lecture slides. And so we have, following our folder, the following poems. We have Having a Coke with You, the text, and the audio, so you do need to open these up and they take you to the poem itself. And Having a Coke with You is a wonderful poem. I hope that you enjoy it. Home After 3 Months Away, text and audio, and Girl of Lightning by Hyde Edric. And this is a wonderful poem right here. And I will say this, in graduate school, I have my master's in creative writing, and I went to Augsburg University there in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I graduated class of 2019, and Hyde Edric was my poetry professor. She was my mentor in poetry. And one of the things that she taught me early on was write about what hurts, explode the heart with emotions. And I find that very honest and true now whenever you're getting ready to write about it all. And so as soon as you finish reading and listening to those poems, I would like you to go into the discussion board. And I'm going to open up the discussion board so that way you can see it. And it says discussion board number 7. Pay no mind to the little icon right there. You should be able to see this once I give you access. And it's going to say to make sure that you read these 3 poems in preparation for this discussion board. It says no workout is necessary. Just make sure that you adhere to specifics within the questions. And it's going to say the following. Look up any biography or history of one of the three authors listed and just list facts about them. You can number or list them. It says question 2, looking at Frank O'Hare's poem, Having a Coke with You, what are 2 or 3 adjectives that describe the poem? List those words or adjectives below and explain your reasoning. Include the poem's title in your response, which should be at least 1 to 3 sentences. Example, is the poem discussing a love, a type of adoration, a sense of loneliness, or appreciation? How do we know this? Question 3, read Robert Lowe's poem, then follow along the audio section. If possible, read it aloud a second time. What are the differences that are noted from reading and hearing the poem? List at least 2 to 3 differences from reading and hearing the poem. Those differences don't have to be in the same sentence form. They just make sure that they adhere to that objective. Does the author and speaker say lines rather quickly? Do they enunciate or pronounce some words differently? Does the flow of the poem change when you read it silently, reading aloud, or listening to the other? Question 4. After reading these poems, which poem was the most confusing or difficult? What contributing factors add to make this a hard-to-read poem? Question 5. From all the readings, which is the most powerful or most interesting line or sentence you read? Place it here and discuss why it stood out to you. And include the poem title in line if you can. Question 6 says, as you read Heydrich's poem, Girl of Lightning, this poem reflects more and read it several times. Use 3 words, themes of imagery, on what you visually see or hear when you hear this poem. This is more so an interpretive question, as your answer may be very different than others. In short, as you read this poem, what words, imagery come to mind as you explore it? Do certain words or symbols come to you, or art? In short, when you close your eyes and absorb this poem, what comes to your mind? If a piece of artwork or image of sorts, you're more than welcome to include it in your post below, or even as a web link. Okay? And don't forget to submit to others. Okay? And then it says that it follows a week 6 deadline. Okay? As always, you can start a new thread. You can include in any color, font, as long as it's legible by me. Okay. We also have the word count. And the word count just helps you count your words so that you can copy and paste them to a discussion board. So let's dive in to the analytical essay. And again, like I said, this is a rather lengthy video lecture because it also contains our essay. So this is the instructions for our analytical essay, a critical interpretation of major authors and their works. The assignment description is as follows. This assignment is comprised of 2 sections, the essay itself and an annotated bibliography. Both will have specific instructions within this document. The analytical essay is worth 15% of your total grade. The annotated bibliography is also worth 15%. In total, they both have a combined weight of 30%. So this is the essay instructions. For this assignment, you will write an analytical, thesis-driven essay in which you describe and evaluate one of the topics below. So I'm going to read aloud all the topics, and you're only going to have to choose one as you begin to look at and research what you're going to do for this essay. And these are the topics. Choose an element from the realism-naturalism period that was highly evident throughout literature and evaluate its significance in this time. Use 2 to 3 authors or their works as support. Choose an element from the modernism period that was highly evident and evaluate its significance. Use 2 to 3 authors or their works as support. Or choose an element from the contemporary period that was highly evident throughout literature and evaluate its significance at this time. Use 2 to 3 works for support. Or explain 3 major literary themes that are found in American literature overall. Describe and evaluate how writers used those elements in their works. I'm trying to zoom out so I can see all of it at one time. Or, Walt Whitman was the first author who was mentioned within the semester. Recall A Song of Myself and I Hear America Singing. Explain how each of these texts depict early American literature. Use at least 2 to 3 lines from each work to support your answer. Or, give an in-depth analysis of Our Town, the play by Thornton Wilder. What key points does he point out in the text, and what is his biggest argument with society? Explain with at least 2 references as in-text citations through quotes. Recall the lifestyle of those living during the Great Depression. In a reflection piece, point out how the life and times were those living during this period. Recount at least 4 examples such as appearance, clothing, education, or status. Or, recall the lifestyle of those living during the Roaring Twenties. In a reflection piece, point out how life and times were for those living during this period. Recount at least 4 examples such as appearance, clothing, education, and status. And as you can see, there's many options. Recall the lifestyle of those living during the Lost Generation. In a reflection piece, point out at least 2 to 3 works that just demonstrate this lifestyle of this time. Or, compare and contrast the following terms: the American Dream and the American West. What were they, and what are at least two key similarities and 2 differences found between them? Use at least 2 to 3 works or texts to support your reasoning. Or, evaluate the writings of the naturalism, realism period that showcase the reality of war. Discuss how themes or characteristics of this time demonstrated everyday American life. Use 2 to 3 works from this time to support your reasoning. Or, demonstrate your understanding of the Gold Rush or the American West in Bret Harte's text, Miggles and the Luck of Roaring Camp. Define how the use of landscape, characters, plot, language showcase the realism period. Use at least 2 to 3 examples found in these stories to explain the significance of those texts. Or, give your interpretation of the life and times of the Harlem Renaissance. Why is it significant? Recall at least 2 works published during this time and discuss their impact in American literature. Or, provide and discuss one thing that came from the Harlem Renaissance period that became pivotal, beneficial, or continuous in history. In short, what is one thing that was created, known, or came from this time and remains today? Or, choose between one of the chosen poets from the realism naturalism period: Emerson, Thoreau, Longfellow, Bryant, Whitman, and give a historical analysis of their life and significance. Include at least 2 of their major works and any contributions that they were known for. Or, choose one of the poets from the Harlem Renaissance: Langston Hughes, Zora Neale Hurston, Claude McKay, Countee Cullen, and give a historical analysis of their life and significance. Include 2 of their major works and anything that they were known for. And the last option, choose any writer from the contemporary period and give a historical analysis of their life. Include at least 2 of their major works and any contributions. So as you can see, you have many options here for your research paper, and so it has to stick to one of these topics. So let's look at the objectives. In your analysis, you should identify and describe the primary focus or your argument. Your question should be answered in the beginning. Comprehensible view of the topic alongside your claim, down to components, breaking it apart as the essay progresses. The structures of this essay are as follows. It must cover the topic you're talking about and have a central idea that's governed by its development. Be organized so that every part contributes to the central idea. So let's look at the essay requirements. We need it to be Times New Roman size 12. It is going to be a double-spaced paper, 1-inch margins on each side, proper indented paragraphs. The essay should be at least 2.5 pages to 3.5 pages in length. So this only covers the essay content. This does not cover the works cited page or the annotated bibliography. You are more than welcome to always go above and beyond. Didn't barely meet the page length. The proper MLA formatting includes a works cited page for references with at least 1 or 2 sources listed or as the topic requires. Proper MLA formatting will need at least 3+ use of quotes. These quotes can be indirect, direct, paraphrase, or summaries found within the essay itself as explored with the text and the sources. Your proper heading on the left-hand corner should be your name, first and last, the course name and section, which is found on here, American Lit 2328, section 80, my name, the date, and a proper centered title. Please give me a title that reflects the paper, nothing too generic, not just essay or research paper, okay? So let's look at the MLA requirements for this essay. Any and all texts that you use from the course are found in Brightspace. Make sure to cite them as well. If you need additional assistance in citing those found in the JSTOR or online format, feel free to let me know if you need citation help. At least one of your sources must come from a reputable database such as JSTOR. This can be an article from an academic journal or a content. If they're articles, please make sure that they are 2007 through the present and at least more than 2 pages, not just an abstract or a summary. One source can come from a reputable website such as .gov, .org, or .edu. Do not use Wikipedia and do not use .com. You're also welcome to include from other stories, novels, or works that you have read that can help justify your essay. You are also welcome to find another short story that we have not covered in class, but adds to the specific element if need be. If you need assistance in finding additional short stories, I can do my best to direct you within the time given. Other sources that can be used to help justify your claim made is websites, newspapers, periodicals, audio clips, etc. The research article website you will analyze can be found in the databases found in the Hill College Library or online. Your source must either come from an academic journal or a website ending in the following: .org, .gov, or .edu. Do not use a website ending in .com. Okay. This essay should demonstrate your ability to analyze a text in its rhetorical situation, write a thesis-driven paper supported by evidence, and write clear, well-edited writing that is largely free of proofreading errors. Okay? I also have my criteria right here that shows you how I'll be grading this paper. Points possible is category and the description of the category. So we should know that an essay continues or uses a works cited page at the very end. It cites the sources, and those sources are embedded within the essay. That is an academic essay with a works cited page. We also know that oftentimes you may be asked to write an annotated bibliography. So for this course, you will use an annotated bibliography as part of the submission of your essay. And so this is section 2, a completely different thing than just the essay and the works cited page. An annotated bibliography evaluates the sources used within the essay. Each citation is followed by a brief descriptive and evaluative paragraph, which is called the annotation. The purpose of the annotation is to inform the readers of the relevance, accuracy, and quality of the sources cited. Your annotated bibliography will include entries, 1 paragraph for each source, and that 1 paragraph will have a sentence on, summary, assessment, and reflection. Your entry citation will be followed by a paragraph that addresses the following. So before I even go to this page, I want to show you what it would normally look like. So this is also an annotated bibliography. Notice that it looks very similar to a works cited page. So here's the trick. This is still a works cited page. Someone just took the word works cited and they changed it to annotated bibliography. So within your work, as you're working on the works cited page, the next page, you would simply copy and paste all the sources used. You would change this where it said works cited to annotated bibliography. You're still going to keep your citations however they look like, but for every source, press enter, and you're going to write a paragraph. For every source used in your essay, write a paragraph as to how it was used. Okay? Notice that they have a hanging indent that indicates that this is the source. They have their source wonderfully done right here. Last name, comma, first name, quotation marks, all that good stuff. But they include a well-written paragraph right here that tells you how or where it was used. So let's go back, and this is what you're going to put. 1 sentence, you're going to tell me you're going to summarize your source. So element 1, which is sentence 1, you're going to tell me how to summarize the source. You're going to tell me how you would summarize it. What are the main arguments? What is the point of the book or article? What topics are covered? And these are sentence starters, which just means that you can take this sentence, I'm going to highlight it, and just finish it out. The topics covered in this article or source are enlisted. That's sentence 1. Sentence 2 is to access it. After summarizing a source, it may be helpful to evaluate it. Is it a useful source? How does it compare with other sources? What does it look like? So you can use another sentence starter. Again, you're not writing separate paragraphs. You're writing a sentence on summarizing, a sentence on accessing, and a sentence on reflection. Those 3 sentences become the one paragraph that you need per each source used. Okay? And then reflection sentence. Once you've summarized and accessed the source, how would you ask it to fit your paper? Was this source helpful for you? So it says, my article is supported because ... To be clear, you will not write separate paragraphs, just like I said. Instead, you're picking 3 of those sentence starter examples. They will create a paragraph, and that's what you put at the end of every source. For each entry, make sure that you have the citation and a simple paragraph of one of each of these sentences. This is where this comes in. So you have your source and then a paragraph. Your sentence on summary, your sentence on access, and a sentence on reflection. So for every source used in the essay, you're just going to write a paragraph as to how it was used. Okay? And then I have some important course information for you. We have the final exam, which is open May 4th, 8 a.m. and will close May 10th at 11:59. I may open it up early depending on the timeline for the class, so this may be changed around, but this is just already embedded in the documentation right here. It says that it's divided into different parts: true, false, multiple choice, short answer, answer, reply. And you're only giving that time. It will definitely close May 10th at 11:59. I just may open it sooner, but I will not be able to reopen after that. Okay? And then this is the due date for your essay. The analytical essay and annotated bibliography must be typed and submitted by Monday, May 11th at 11:59. That is your due date. Failure to not turn in by that time will result in 30 points off. Failure to not turn in the next day by Tuesday, May 12th at 4 p.m. will result in a 0. I will not accept submissions by Tuesday, May 12th at 4 p.m. as my grading book altogether, online, and every assignment will close. This will allow me time to finalize and grade research papers and other last-minute grading assignments. Your final essay will need to be turned in the following: the essay, which includes the essay, the works cited page, and the annotated bibliography. Since you will be using sources, your works cited page will need to have an entry cited. Failure to not have a works cited page will deem the essay unacceptable and a 0 will be given. My grading book will close on Tuesday, May 12th. Final grades will be posted Thursday, May 14th. Official grades, as per the Hill College requires, will be Friday, May 15th. So at this point, for a lot of people, they know how to go into the databases. They may not know how to go into a database, or they just need help. So this is where I also included helpful guide for sources. This is just a simple how-to. And so this just says that because you're going to be looking at a works cited page, we need to become familiar with it. A works cited page is the end page that cites your listed works. It ought to look like this: the last page of your essay. Times New Roman size 12, the entries are alphabetically done. And now for many of you, if you've had a 1301 or 1302 class, or even a upper higher level class, we are familiar with works cited page. But if you're in this class and you've never heard of that, I've also included some resources so that you can look at them. A works cited page is listed at the end of your essay. Within this folder, I included Purdue OWL, which helps you and allows you to see how to cite your sources. Again, at this point, if you have any questions regarding this, reach out to me. So let's just say that you want to look at the databases first to find something in regards to your essay. You know that one of your sources should be from a database. So let's just dive in and look at these instructions as I put them. So it says you will be asked to use an academic journal found in the Hill College Library. So let's just say that I'm going to the Hill College Library. The go-to page for this website is also found in the folder. And so this is the library go-to guide for the databases. This is how you know you're there. This is basically a screenshot step-by-step guide. This is how you know you found the right place. Okay, it's going to open up like this, and the databases, to click on them, will be found right here with the little book. Now there are hundreds of databases, and all those databases have thousands and thousands of resources. So what you're going to be doing is diving into specific databases that may help you find what you're looking for. Many of these can be Academic File, Gale, Bloom's Literature, Salem, or any other that's listed. So it does take time. If you need a specific list, feel free to reach out to me and I can see which ones may help you get started. Okay. From here, you can use any electronic database. Some are great. Gale, and they should not ask you for any payment or anything. But another one is JSTOR. So these are included in the actual Hill College go-to homepage. They're all listed together. But another one is JSTOR.org. It's included as its own separate web link because it's not connected to Hill College. But it is a tremendous help if you want to do this one or use this one. So this one, if you were to go to its homepage, should look like this. It's got the homepage. It's got the search bar ready for you. And you would type in what you need right here. That's how I put this so that you know where you're at. So let's just say that we are looking at The Storm by Kate Chopin. And that's one of my stories that's going to help me with whatever movement I'm in or whatever my topic is. So I'm putting in The Storm. And notice that these are just step-by-step guides. So it just kind of helps you filter at a database, just like Google, just like any other page where you have to filter out things. You can filter out by books, journals. You can filter out by the year it was published and or sooner. But the plus thing about JSTOR, which I do like, is that it will automatically tell you if it's what type of form it is, the title itself, the author, and or where it's from, little snippet there. But also if you want to read it online, save for later or cite it. Okay, and so because I just typed in The Storm by Kate Chopin, and it gave me this, we can go to the next page. It says, notice that your left side tab is there whenever you refine the results. You can specify date range, subject, rule of thumb to make sure that it's whatever the teacher's asking of you, and in the language that you are familiar with. So let's just say that I chose this one. It says Kate Chopin's repeating characters. I chose it. I may be able to read it right then and there, or I can save it for later. I scrolled a bit to find this article. Notice that it gives you that it's a journal article. It has a title and author to the right side. An option also says that I can cite it. So it was that right there. And I clicked on this and voila, it opens up the citation. So we use in this class the MLA version of the citation. So it already has it ready. So there's no need for us to memorize what it looks like. So we look at author's last name, comma, first name, following the MLA guideline that it has the title listed, the volume, page number, all that stuff. And notice that because this is an online source, I will need you to please place when you accessed it. This one just says accessed whenever this was. And all you're doing whenever you find citations like this for your source is you're copying and pasting it to your Works Cited page. Okay? And then it pops up with the cite box, so you already have it. The wonderful thing is that you can use quotes. And so the next part of my step in this is if I resume my work, I want to be able to go back and check on it or save it, or want to be able to look at what quotes would be used for my work. And so some of them may ask for your ID upon your school ID. So just make sure that you're using your school ID, but it should not ask for any payments. If not, let's see what we can do so that way you can still obtain your article in some way or another, but not have to worry about anything like that. But whenever you are looking at an academic source, we're going to follow and adhere to the following things whenever you have to cite them. Author, first and last name, title of source, title of container, whatever it is, contributors, version, number, publisher, publication date, location, and date of access. This is how we would cite our work. So the usage of proper citations. So for example, if you're using an online article found in a journal, the following example is most correct. It tells you how it does it, and I gave you an example. Look at that. I also give you examples for other things. Okay. I also can give you examples that will help you in regards to others. So let's just show you real quick what this is. This is the JSTOR database. Notice that I have to type in something right here. And if I chose politics and it's part of my topic of my essay, then I go in and dive in. Okay. I also have right here the Purdue OWL website. This was that helpful website that I was telling you about that gives way to how you would cite your words or your sources or how a essay sample would look like. It tells you how to use quotes. It shows you the basic formats on how to cite different things, including electronic sources, periodicals. It shows you how a works cited page would look like, how a paper would look like, and anything of the sort. It also tells you how you would sort different websites, a page from a website, a podcast, and or if you need help with others. Okay? And the Hill College database go-to. This is the database mainframe. It has hundreds and hundreds of databases, and each database includes multiple versions of resources that you could use for your paper. So the research is what may take a while. Okay? The only thing that we're doing is just making sure that we understood that. At any point during this time, if you have questions, please let me know. Okay? We're now going to look at the week 6 part 2 folder. Within the week 6 part 2 folder, we have the following: an academic integrity quiz, which is about 5 to 10 questions long, very short. You're going to upload your significance of the title assignment, something that was given to you on, I think, one of the earlier weeks, as well as letters of World War II writing assignment. There are no lecture slides for this particular day or section because most of them and the majority of this week was taken up with writing and drafting and researching the research paper. This follows a week 6 deadline, and then it just also is copied and pasted the due date and all of its priority elements for the essay. And then it also tells you about the exam, just as the week 6 day 1 folder talked about. So we have an academic integrity academic integrity quiz. It just tells you to answer the following questions to the best of your knowledge. It is just a quiz. It's very simple. It's very short. You get about an hour, and it gives you 2 attempts, and I grade the highest one. I also am going to include the module right here for you to submit your significance of a title assignment. It says this assignment is a reflection of titles and works read up until this point of the semester. It's formatted as both a Word document and PDF. You will need to download either version and create your own copy. If you have technical issues submitting it, inform me so we can find another way for you to submit. I hope you enjoyed exploring titles and why they're significant within the work. And then it just tells you the due date, but it also allows you the 4 extra days that you need it. And then I included right here, if you need it, the PDF or the Word document if you want to go back and look at that. And then as we're ongoing, this is the assignment module for the Letters of World War II writing assignment. Okay. Then it says this is where you will submit your Letters of World War II writing assignment. Ensure that it's accessible and viewable to me as I download it. PDF is preferred, but Microsoft Word, Google Doc, as a viewable sheet is accepted. I have to be able to see it. If I cannot view it, I cannot grade it. For your convenience, the instructions are also included here. They're also found in the week 3 part 2 folder. And then it just follows the due date and it gives you the extra days. And then for reference, I included it as a doc or PDF, and then you would recreate your own copy. Again, because this is something that will take your time, at any point during this week, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I can easily be reached at my email, aestrada@hillcollege.edu, and I try my best to reply to you. Okay? I hope you have a wonderful week 6, and let's finish this week so that we only have a few weeks left.